People, deluded, I'm back again. Oh, that was a bit of an exaggerated people, isn't it? Why is there so much enthusiasm, DG? Either way, thank you for tuning back in each and every time, people. It is 7:37. I need to leave. I'm really going to be late, but videos have to get made, people. Now, it's the international break, but first and foremost, before we speak about football, happy Football Manager Day, people. FM20 is out. It is very realistic, I can't lie, because I'm Arsenal right now. We're fourth in the table. Top four, I don't think I'm going to do it, but top four is in the balance. But I am poor away from home. I think I've drawn 3 of the last 5 away from home and lost 1 and won 1. And it's a mad thing, people. I've got a couple of young players I've brought in. Szoboszlai, Gravenberch. I somehow managed to find money to sign Ruben Diaz and Ndika in defence. But it doesn't look like anything I'm personally doing is improving my team. And at least for now, I face a real struggle to get top 4. Ozil and Aubameyang both said in the game they want to leave. Twitch, Aubameyang hasn't even been in good form, I don't mind. But if I can get Champions League, I'll revamp the whole team and everyone can go. But moving away from that, before I get on to Mkhitaryan, people, I thought I would say Lucas Torreira played for Uruguay. Now, I didn't watch it, but I'm hearing he's had a good game. And for me, is it a surprise? He has a good game in his natural position. He must take more joy playing for Uruguay than Arsenal. Obviously, it's national pride. But for me, you're playing in your role. You're playing in a system that works. And there's a lot of camaraderie. There's something to believe in for Uruguay. They all think the same way. They're all tigerish. They're all battling. And obviously, how you play or how you are with your international team and your club team is 2 different things. But I said in a previous vid that we should come out around the same time as this. I think the reason Torreira wants to go is, firstly, he's not playing in his position. Secondly, there's too much mix and match over what the team is doing, how we're going to shape up, man. And I mean, Atletico wanted him 2 years ago. Napoli wanted him. When you compare that, he chose Arsenal and he's not playing, and there's question marks over players' futures and top 4, and there's just nothing to really be inspired by. I can't blame players for questioning their futures and things like that as much as I want. Now, he played quite well against Argentina from what I'm hearing. I've seen the highlights and it looked like Messi and Cavani were going to go into it. Apparently, Messi told Cavani, bring it anytime you want, and yeah, man, for someone that suffers from short man syndrome as well, go get him, Messi. Go get him. Go grab him and mash him up. But, yeah, people. For Uruguay as well, they ended 2019 having suffered no defeats, people, excluding penalties throughout the year of 13 games, which is a good record. Apparently, Unai Emery was at on Sunday was at a Segunda B match between Real Union and CD Gugelo. I can't say that name, people. Now, maybe that was a scouting trip. Hopefully it was, and we can get a young player or whatever. Potentially it was just, obviously he's on his down break, he's a football manager. Why not go and watch a game in your homeland? He could have been visiting family members. That game was real local. He just went, and obviously at times the media see one thing and get away with it. And Mundo Deportivo, I believe the publication is, hasn't said he's been looking at players or anything. I just thought I would personally mention that to you guys. Apparently Arsenal are planning a scouting mission again on Hungarian midfielder Dominik Szoboszlai. An Arsenal source says the club regard RB Salzburg ace Szoboszlai as a genuine contender to replace Xhaka in the midfield. Now, this was tweeted by Peter O'Rourke. Now, he has got some things right. I can't remember, but I'm sure he said Arsenal's going to get Callum Chambers one time. Obviously, make of that what you will. Szoboszlai is a bad boy footballer. He can play box to box. He can play deep line. He's even played as a sort of wide central midfielder, if that makes sense, where you're kind of inverted. Obviously, he's only 18, 19, so there's a lot of development. We'd have to be patient. But for me, it's a no-brainer to sign him. He's been playing in the Champions League. You've seen what he's been doing. I don't know if Arsenal can get Highland, but I mean, a double sweep for both of them, especially with question marks over our strikers, would be good. For someone like Ireland, he looks like he's going to be an incredible footballer in the next 10 years' time or something, and someone that's going to be up there for the best number 9s in the world. So with that, you'd think there's resale value. Szoboszlai, there's obviously resale value. He's actually spoken about differently, but how he's fond of Italy and hasn't ruled out playing there in the future. But he actually hasn't. I haven't got the reports, the notes to hand, but it's like it's a thing, people, where he said he would like to, but it's like he's not angling for it. And it is what it is. I would like him. Obviously, he's playing Champions League. We're in the Europa League, but he get games. He fits in with our youth model and young players and all of these sort of things. So I'd love him, man. And that's one thing. If this article is nothing but waffle, he genuinely can replace Xhaka in midfield. We need patience, because if we were to say, let's say, okay, Torreira, Guendouzi and him, which would be a midfield three for me, for a possible option, excluding the exception of Torreira, Guendouzi and Szoboszlai, they're going to be a young partnership. So whatever midfielder comes in, if they are young, we need to be careful in our expectations in the short, medium and long term. So it is what it is in that regards. Hopefully we do that. Mkhitaryan's been speaking to 4-4-2, and I must admit, Mkhitaryan, I know he's had, bar the little injuries had at Roma, I wouldn't say he's hitting the world a lot, but it seems that he's enjoying himself, the Italian way of life, playing for a manager that wants to play you and whatnot. And I need to holler him, because he's got his hairline back, people. I mean, he looked stressed last season. His hairline is back in full effect in Italy. But he's been speaking to 4-4-2, and obviously, I'm sure you've seen his comments about how he has to receive the ball off the defensive mid. That's not the first time I've seen him speak about that. Before he left Arsenal, didn't he say something like that? Like, my positioning has changed. I need to be closer to the build-up play. I'm not as close to the goal as I can be, but I'm trying. So that's something he's worried about. And Mkhitaryan's not here, and he shouldn't be part of a key group of anything beyond a squad player. But if you've got Mkhitaryan, an attacking player, if you've got Aubameyang, Lacazette to a fair degree previously, Torreira, Pepe, you've got players that are being played out of position and there's no real balance. You've got players that are not really excelling. You've got Ceballos as well. Ceballos and Pepe, they both probably got their own question marks. But if nobody's really thriving in an attacking sense, surely you've got to ask questions of the manager. And obviously, the longer Arsenal don't get Champions League football, the longer we move away from that Arsenal of old, we can't rely on playing good football, or we can't even attract players because of good football or the football they would enjoy or their personal development. There's not, obviously Arsenal will always be able to get players, but it's the excuses to want to join Arsenal, the reasons better yet to want to join Arsenal beyond the obvious are waning, people, in my humble opinion. But he's actually said, he said, Emery paid more attention to tactics. Well, sorry people, that's the wrong bit. He said, playing under Arsene was a pleasure. To every player he said, just play football and enjoy it. If you're doing something and you enjoy it, it means you're doing something right. It means you're doing it right, sorry. I had a great 6 months with him at Arsenal, so he's very fond of Arsene Wenger, and that's testament to Wenger. Every player more or less says that. There's only a few players that potentially don't see eye to eye with Wenger. Or, let me be honest, there's probably a lot more, because he's managed over 1,000 players and more in his career, stretched out over whatever team is. But he said, Emery paid more attention to tactics, so my role changed. I was starting as a winger, but had to build play with the defensive mid, which is why I couldn't contribute as many goals or assists. I'd like to play more and move wherever there's space. And that's Mkhitaryan. I mean, he's a creative player. He's predominantly played on the flanks, but in an ideal world, I'm sure you'd ask him, he has a free role or he has a license to roam whatever. I can't remember the game, but I'm sure there was a game where Mkhitaryan and Ozil both started by Emery on the flanks, and we didn't win that game, forgive me if I'm wrong. And nothing to do with them, and in fact, they have to hold their hands up, but their skill set is not playing on the flanks like that. They want to get involved in. I remember they were coming inside, making us very more compact, and we got exploited down the flanks, people. If he wants him to go and risk, why does he want his winger that deep? Is it to free up space for his attackers? Is it so his fullback can provide that width that obviously Mkhitaryan can't because he's dropping? I don't know. Emery would have to tell you, but it doesn't sound positive. If you remove Pepe and you remove Mkhitaryan and you say Pepe or any other player, it would sound a bit like madness. Moving on, he said, you have to do the job the manager asks. The team winning is more important than your individual preferences. It was a good experience to work with him, though, because he's the first Spanish coach in my career, and Spanish football is quite technical. And then he was also pressed as why he left Arsenal. He said, I know my qualities and I know what I can do. Maybe I couldn't accept that I had to sit on the bench for some matches. I'm 30 years old now, and I'd like to play football, not just sit on the bench and waste my time. Now, whatever you think of Mkhitaryan, that's a good professional attitude. He wants to play football. A football career is short. You simply obviously they're earning a lot of money and whatnot, and he's on a decent contract that his agent Renola got for him at Arsenal. Could have just been comfortable in the London lifestyle. Obviously, it's a fact he was a very loved member of the side and he got on well with everybody. He obviously had people like Aubameyang and Socrates that he was cool with, so he could have stayed. Imagine if this was any other job. You're comfortable. There's no reason for you to go. But he wanted to play football at 30 years of age. He's not ready to collect his payday. And we know Mkhitaryan would have been sold, or if he was me, he would have been sold permanently or be in this situation. But I can't begrudge a man for having an attitude like that. So well done to him, man. I think he's got 6 goals, 4 assists in the league, people. I could be wrong on that. I could just be gassing. But I'm sure when I was last keeping an update, that's what I had. But he's gone on to finally say, Emery and the head of football assured me I was important for Arsenal. But I signed for Roma because they believed in me more than Arsenal. My agent told me about the transfer on September the 1st. As I had nothing to do at Arsenal, I said yes. Fair play. He wanted to keep it moving. What can you say, people? Like, what can you tell him? The problem is with Mkhitaryan now is that Arsenal with Mkhitaryan, El Nene, and there might be one more player out on loan that I'm not sure of, but we're gonna need to get their moves because El Nene, his contract don't run up at the end of the season. Forgive me, but I don't think he's setting the world alight with Besiktas. Whether they keep him permanently is another thing. There was rumours he's been offered to AC Milan, and AC Milan have said nah, G. So we'll have to see how that one develops, people. But for now, I'm going to keep it moving. People, Deluded as usual. It's been a pleasure listening and, well, not listening, but talking to you lot and having you lot listen. Please comment, like, and do up the rest of the descriptions and whatnot. Podcast links is in the descriptions. And yeah, man, it means a lot that you lot tune in to my thing each and every time. So thank you for doing just that. But on that note, people, DG, I'm out.